Greetings, Chester here, 45Y music composer and producer. Welcome to the channel. Put on the scuba gear today, and I spent a lot of time on this, and I'm really hoping that in the end, this won't take forever, because I feel like every time I've tried to talk about these two libraries, today's a double feature, it's just deep. Rigid Audio, you made some deep tools. So we're going to do our best. Hopefully this video is not going to take a long time. I feel like this is still the best way to provide the news and the details and the deep dive. So we'll put on our scuba gear. We're going to see where we go, and we're going to deep dive into Plethora and Sore, which are the two loop-based sample contact instruments that I have from Rigid Audio. All right. Let's begin. First thing I want to show on the site is there's a collection of this family, okay? So you have acoustic isolation, which is on its own. It's acoustic instruments like guitars and banjos and whatever else. I don't know what's on this library. I don't have it, but that's kind of what its take is. Plethora, Sore, Cinematrix, and Sinferno are also kind of in their own family of what these are. This supine, not familiar with it, but this is its own. It's more like ambient loops. The softer side of things is kind of its tagline. Plethora, Sore, Cinematrix, and Sinferno, they're advertised as like trailer or cinematic electronic like libraries. Plethora is actually kind of like the greatest hits version of Sore, Cinematrix, and Sinferno. And what they did, in fact, they say it here on the site, is the best sounds of all of those. And supine, okay. And they combined them all into 300 completely new kits. So this one is kind of called the greatest hits of those. Not only that, but this one's different in the way that you can drag and drop audio files into it too. So you can drag and drop some loops into whichever one you need. You just pop them right there, and then they'll be available to you. Each engine can hold up to 128 custom WAV files. I did not use it this way, and I won't demo it either, but I just wanted to explain that this one, Plethora, has the ability to do so. You do need the full version of Contact. At least Plethora, you need 6.2.1 or more. I believe these Soars, you can get 5.8. So if you have Contact 5, start looking at these and make sure you're looking at which ones will work for you or not when you're buying them. But you do need the full version either way. The free version does not work with these Rigid Audio libraries. If Rigid Audio ever watches this, constructive feedback from me, don't need to say how much lines of code you have. I'm a product manager. I do this stuff all the time for work, and I just some feedback. I don't know how many customers of yours will know what that code even is. Some of this made sense. Some of it kind of was, I don't know. That's why I'm not going to read it or go over it with anyone here today. It's good, but a refresh on this could do you well. 100% royalty free. That's fantastic. That's a good thing to note. It's not fully automatable. I'll show you in the demo where I would love to see it automatable, but it's mostly automatable. I did see that this Ambiloop Bundle is available for free. You do have to sign up to their newsletter, but I did have this for a minute. I did just delete it today because I feel like there's repetition between what this offers and what I've already purchased. But if you're not looking to buy anything and you stumbled onto this video, then give this a shot. This is a great intro into the world of Rigid Audio. Here, actually, let's go to full screen on this so I can look at you. I don't plan to, on my YouTube channel, force feed free stuff. A lot of folks do this on YouTube today. I will call them out. I don't believe you use half of what you put out there, because I've been doing this for a long time and I can't use everything that's free. In fact, a lot of things that are free don't really work in my day-to-day, like when I'm writing music or making music. I do use free tools, but it's very rare that I'll use a free tool over something I've paid for. Therefore, it is in what I feel would be the best interest of anyone who wants to support this page, know that anything that I'm going to tell you would be things that I do use or things that I think are going to be worth your time. So I will not just send free stuff your way, okay? Hope that's fair. Secondly, I don't get paid for any of this. Rigid Audio and me, we don't know each other. We've never met. We've never even spoken. I have bought their tools. I have used some of these tools. I'm a fan of like Limerence, for example. So I'm just doing this because I got some time and because I think the information that I can provide YouTube and its patrons, whoever's interested anyways, can get something from this hopefully and pursue either some awesome music with some awesome tools or maybe some knowledge in how to use some of these things. Maybe there's a similar instrument and they were just stuck on how to use like a sequencer or something, stuff like that. All right, we'll get back to it. Yeah, Ambiloop Bundle, I think based on what I was using today and what I noticed before I deleted it, I did think that there was some really cool stuff here that it can provide. And then if you do end up getting Plethora or some of these others, I wouldn't be too worried about this. This is just a really good tool to kind of get into this world of rigid audio and mess around with these tools and think like the way their UI is presented to you. It's a great stepping stone for that. All right, now we're into Plugin Boutique. This is where the deal is going on right now as of recording this video. Plugin Boutique has their instruments for $5 each, so you can snag a few of these, whichever one's going to work for you. Remember to look for Contact, and also remember you need the full version of Contact. But once you have those things and you have the right Contact version for the right library, you're all set to go. Just make sure you look it over. It's not too bad. Most of the stuff is backwards compatible in a lot of ways. All right, so I've made a really simple template here just to get things started. We have Plethora, we have Sore, and we have this musical idea. All right, so this musical idea did take roughly 5-10 minutes to kind of get things going. And even though throughout the day I've spent a lot of time working with these tools, the ideas do come out very seamlessly, like they were saying in their marketing tools, instant inspiration. And I do agree with that. So let's walk through the UI. I'm going to walk through the Plethora UI. Sore is identical 100%. So is Cinematrix, Sinferno, these others. They're all the same. You go over one, you've gone over all of them that are in this family. It comes with some snapshots. These are presets. You can just click and load in. You can get going. There's about 350 of these. I don't use any of them, but you can. There are videos on YouTube on companies going over them, each one, and kind of showing you what their favorites are. We won't be doing that in this video. I'll show you how to use the tool. So we have user here. That's because I've started making my own kind of stuff, and user will show up when you start editing things. This first page, here's the mix page. There's 4 to go over today, but this first one is mix. So looks a lot like a mixer. You have your fader for volume. You have the space effects knob. You have a tuner, which is plus or minus 12 semitones. You can pan if you want. I pan in the DAW, so I wasn't using those, but you can pan to, you have 2 EQ options here. So you can select your frequency and plus or minus 20 dB. Options here, you can solo and listen to them individually. And then here you can select your, based on the track, there's 4 tracks on these. I think, yeah, 325 loops per track. And then I said 128, I think, custom loops you can have also. You can also click through them with the arrows. This R means random. You can randomize them, each one. And that's this page. So you think of this as like kind of like a 4-track instrument. Bass, melody, ambience, and groove. Groove is like drums. And then you have ambience and melody, and those are loose terms, but ambience can be thought of as like textures or synth like sounds and environment and many things, pads and soundscapes, things like that. Melody can also be those things, and it can also not. I've heard string parts. I've heard other instruments, guitar, like string-like ideas, synthesizers. I've heard kind of everything here, but they're loosely applied here, but bass has actually been bass for the most part. Groove has been drums for the most part. So just wanted to mention that. Down here, you can also engage or disengage the effects that are set up on this page. We'll get there soon. Sequencer, same thing. If you're using the sequencer, you can engage, disengage that. And we are using it on our groove. I think we went over everything here. One thing that is really cool, and this is noted on the user manual, so we'll note it on our walkthrough. We have key commands, and they really help us move things along. So if I hold Command or Windows on a Windows machine, if I hold that and click, it will go to the default position. It does this anywhere, which is pretty fantastic. So it's a great way to just come in, initialize the patch, get it going where you want. I did notice that for the most part, nothing clips if I don't have any effects on. So my volumes are all the way up, so I can control them outside of Contact. Another cool thing is if I hold Option and I make a change, all of them make the change. So that's just by me holding Option and then all 4 tracks will get updated together. If I hold Command and Option, they will all normalize together. So a very fast way to get everything where it needs to go. Shift is makes fine tuning possible. So if you hold down Shift, you'll be able to do that as well. Okay, let's go to Edit. Now this is the first page where we can kind of see these buttons where we choose the instrument to update the edit page. You have 2 envelopes, ADSR for amp and filter. You have the filter modifiers where you have your cut and your resonance. I do like the idea of probably CCing this on all 4 of them and mapping that into the DAW. So I'll eventually probably get there because I did use this a couple times to help shape some of the sound. Another one here is this low cut, get some of the bass rumble out. That was pretty helpful too. There's also stereo width, quite a few things here that can help you shape your sound. And then one of my favorites was this loop speed control. And this is what I was saying is this is not fully automatable, even though that's what it says on the website, because I can't automate this. There's nothing here that will allow me to switch these. And this is a very powerful feature. That's okay. I did like it. Also this freeze function, that's pretty cool too. You can also set your pitch bend, mod wheel, pretty standard. You can do low pass, high pass, volume. Those are great, powerful features too. So you can have your mod wheel having fun in your arrangement. That's pretty much edit. All right, so effects, you get a lot of really fun effects. We're gonna maybe try to hear this. Let me solo this instrument. And then you do need the effects on, so make sure you have that turned on, and then you can start. So we have an auto pan, which is pretty great to move around the stereo field. We have a step filter with the gate here if we want that. Degrade. We have a screamer. We have flange. We have space, which you're gonna have to turn on probably one of these. There's pre-delay, and then you have your space here. Your dry wet. And then all the impulse responses are here. I'm gonna disable though. And a delay. Which all the options are right here. You also have a really fun little feature here where you can have presets all available to you here too. And then you can randomize your presets. So if you wanna probably just be careful, especially if I have this all the way up. That could get damaging potentially on what you end up on. Still, it's pretty cool that you're able to use random option for that. Now we'll go to sequencing. This is where we're gonna probably take most of our time, and that's okay. It's just really powerful features here. And this is where I give Rigid Audio some of their credit, is these sequencing options. And so when we went through the Atheos one, we went through that one rather quickly, but it's insanely powerful what you can do in that tool. And so this one, luckily we're a little more in a box, but yet I don't even know if we are. I don't even know if that's the right way to even mention it. So I'm going to solo groove. We're only going to listen to the groove part. If I turn sequence off, we're going to hear the loop. And it's just going to play. When we start working with the sequencer, that's where things can get fun, and we now move the loop around a little bit. We have it replay in ways that we can bend it to its will. We do that through sample offset. I'll talk about loop offset in a moment, but we'll focus on sample offset first. Sample offset, in the best way to explain it, will hit up 32. If I have it go all the way to 32 steps, it will play the whole loop in a step-by-step manner. If we want to change the sample or the loop, we have to update the offset a little bit. So if we kind of like do that, we do 2 here, and then we have like a kind of like a drum fill type thing here. You'll hear a difference now. Right? So this is a great way to say, you know, you can have the loop play this way and then kind of just do some updates to it. You can also contain this and kind of help you out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7. That's 8. There, we should be at 8 now. So all right, so now I'm at an 8-step sequencer by using this start and end for offset. You can also have it start somewhere else. And that can also give you some fun results too. Like I said, you can bend this loop to your will. You can do some really fun things. I'm trying to go in order of the UI, so forgive me if I start going crazy here. I didn't mean to just move to the opposite corner. You're drawing everything in here. Now let's go down here to presets. The first list are presets that Rigid Audio has provided us. And I think of them kind of starting as shapes. We have like a sine wave on how it's going to play the loop. If I have this all the way up, it'll play the whole 32 steps. Titan are some of my favorites. So I really suggest those. Now the next group are user presets. These are ones that you can create. And what's cool about these, they are different than some of these others, is if you create this now, so if like I put 2 notes here, now if I go to ambience, notice that it's not there, but if I select this now, it is. So these save as you make them, they save to your hard drive, and then any one of these can now pull up that preset, so you can use it that way. So that's pretty helpful. You get up to A through H. Also, I'm not going to go over it in this tutorial because I'm just not using any of these key switches, but these first set of key switches, you can move between these user sequences and you can put them in your arrangement so that you can create some more variation. You get A through H here, and then you get some other fun options too. Keep that in mind as you're working with this library. So that would be an advantage of using the user presets in creating your own. Down here underneath, these are not options, but these are ways that you can process the sequencing. So if I want to shift left, I can click that. It will shift everything over. If I want to shift right, it'll shift everything over. And then SO means the sample offset. LO means loop offset. Just making sure you're using the right features for the right sequence you're trying to edit. We will get back to things here. I'm not going to show you pattern record, but that's pretty hip too. You would click SO for sample offset if I wanted to make my own here. And then I can now use the keys. You just have to make sure that thing sequences on. There's a few settings that you need to have. The user manual will show you that, but you can punch in your own sequence. It can be very helpful if you're looking to ever do that. And I will down the road. I'm demoing so many things I wasn't able to get to that one quite. And then for loop offset, you would select that one. You can, I think, select both, and then it will actually do both for you. The one other thing about that I would note is you only get the first 24 because in an octave, there's 2 octaves here. There are 32 notes here, so you don't get the whole thing. You can also just draw it in. That is why I'm not demoing it, because I'm just drawing everything in. Rate, you can go half all the way, so half note all the way to the 16th. There's quarter, and then there's eighth. You have the 4 options here. No dotted, no triplet. This is just half, quarter, eighth, 16th. Keep that in mind. So if you're ever looking to get more interesting in that way, you're going to have to probably use other means, delays, things like that. But this is what's provided, and I think that's okay. Honestly, I didn't have too much issue with that part. The slicing option has to be on. For this to be on, sequence has to be off. What this feature does, I'm surprised it's actually even in this UI. This one was kind of weird to me. It's like, why don't you just put this somewhere else? But you turn this on, and now all these notes will play the loop rather than the key or the pitch that it's in that's assigned here. It will just play the loop as sample slices. Again, sequence has to be off. This has to be on. It'll work that way. Now, if you have sequence on and you have gate mode on, this will, every time you play the sequence, when this is set to 0, it will gate. It'll just not play anything. Versus that machine gun effect, it will play every note, which sometimes can be desirable. But if you have the gate on, it won't play that. Okay? All right, let's go back to, see if I can go back to like 8. Cool. All right, and the last thing we have left is loop offset. What is that? Well, it actually changes these loops. We went like that. And you can see the loops changing here. Pretty powerful sequencer, especially when you start introducing loop offset. Feature request I think I would have is I would like to set maybe this to shorter steps than this, but you can also draw it out in the way that you need. Yeah, pretty awesome. And then also if you start adding effects to how you have this playing out, you can do a lot of really fun things. It's a really fun sequencer. Let's see, you can randomize your presets. So if you want to try a different one, you just hit randomize. You can randomize. Let's go back to the mix for this final thing, because this one works differently than these, is what I've been told. So we're going to turn the sequencer off. So if you hit randomize here, it will play a different preset, or loop, sorry. It'll play a different loop under melody. Same with this, even if my sequence was on. Because the sequencer is based on the number you're playing. So if I was on 51 and I had my my sequence, let's go back to groove here. So this is up 20. Let's bring this down to 1 so that this makes a little more sense for us. So step 1 is 1. It's going to be 1 of 51. So it will select 52. 0 is 51. 1 is 52. 2 is 53. And so on and so forth. It's based on whatever one you're selecting here. So if I do hit random, and that's what's really fun about this, is if you've made a sequence that you really like or that you're using, but the loop doesn't sound quite right, just hit random here and kind of until you get one that does. And you'll find something fun. Final thing here is if I use the option command, I got to remember the key command for this, but if I use it on this, everything randomizes. This one's the special one, the one on the bass random here on this page. If I hold command and option, everything randomizes, including effects and sequence. The whole thing randomizes for all 4 tracks. It's a little powerful to me, a little too powerful. So I'm not going to be looking to do that today, but that's something I wanted to convey and mention and say that that's pretty awesome if that's something you want. Here, let's go to sequence. Let's turn these off because I am clipping now that's happening. All right, that's the UI. So hopefully we did this in record time. And if we didn't, I apologize. But it's a deep UI, and we had to go over everything. Now let's look at Sore together with Plethora. I'm not going to walk through kind of how I have these set up in post-processing. Nothing too different than what I've done in other videos. So if you want to see how some of that's done, check out one of my previous, probably rigid audio videos, like the Atheos one. I'll walk you through a little bit what I was doing. And unfortunately, sorry, it's in light of time. Also, if you leave comments, I will answer them. So if you have any questions there, I can answer them there too. Now, when I think of this, I was wondering how I can make the most out of this. Now I kind of see that I have 8 tracks here, and now they can each kind of have jobs. So if I think of, let me solo the bass, low end is one of the most common situations for this, where if you have 2 bass parts, you're going to kind of listen to them and you're going to say like, how can I, by the way, the command, I want to just say this here, the command option does not work across all these tools, it only works within the 4 that it has. So if I did command switch this and I hit command option here, it is not going to impact those, right? I just want to make sure that that's clear. You gotta do it in each of these. Bass, we can't really tell the difference of each one of these. So that's why I have them both up right now, because I want to understand the jobs of each one. Here, actually, let's turn this one down. So this one sounds kind of noisy and muddy as the sub, so I'm going to turn that one up. Now we're starting to hear a little difference. Now I'm going to turn this one down all the way. I like this one as the sub, so I'm going to put that one as the sub and turn these up. And now they both kind of have their jobs, right? And you can do this with melody, the ambience, and the groove. Each one can now kind of start having their jobs. You'll delegate them. Which part of the frequency spectrum are you going to operate? Do I need to pan, stereo spread some of this? Who's doing what? Drums, do I have a low percussion part and a mid percussion part? Do I have 2 mid percussion parts? How are they playing off each other? Is there, maybe a hi-hat type glitchy part that I can use? You start thinking that way when you have these 8 tracks rather than just the 4, which is pretty awesome. All right, so now we're gonna turn that off and we're gonna see that we've given everyone kind of a role. And you can get ideas like this cooking up in 10 minutes or less. And with the power of the sequencer, also, you're going to get some pretty great results and get things kicking. So it can get very deep, and it can also not be so complex. So that's what makes a pretty good tool, in my opinion. Some things that I did notice, the UI does kind of act a little funny. That doesn't bother me because being a musician, I'm mostly listening to things. But I think if I... trying to see how I can... Yeah, here we go. There's no sound coming out of this. It's still doing this visual. So the UI does act a little funny sometimes. I do want to mention that. If that is a problem for you, if you're always using your eyes and using visuals, just keep that in mind. But for me, that doesn't bother me too much. Most of the time, I want to be working in the DAW anyways and just listening and seeing how my speakers, what they're telling me or what my headphones are telling me. And then I'm processing this way anyways. I think I went through everything. Yeah. So that's probably a long video, longer than I was hoping. I was hoping for another 8-9 minute video like Limerence, but we did 2 libraries today, both of similar sound, similar mind, and that's okay. Let's see, caveats here. So when I started this video at the very first, I kind of was going to delete both of these libraries. I was very uninspired by them originally. I have been for a while. I bought these like over a year ago. But as I started learning about the sequencer once again, and I started messing with these and tweaking these tools, I did come to understand that there is a very important job for them for me. Because this year I do want to work on a tension cue, several actually. And so this is a great way to get sketching going for that. Great way to get some of the trailer music going, ways where I need to sketch something and get some ideas out. And the fact that you can sketch something pretty easily with this and maybe move some of the tools around where maybe you don't like the bass that's coming out of Plethora and you want to use Massive, or you want to use Output's Substance. I use that tool a lot for sub bass. Then I would just mute the track and record the rest and put in output. So you can do a lot of things this way, and I think it gets me going really, really fast. Gets ideas just coming along, and that's worth its weight in gold. Also, I mean, its weight in gold is $5. I'm very thrilled that I spent the time today to go over these tools to show you how they're capable of being awesome. And then now I've taught myself that, yeah, they are capable of being awesome, and they do have a role in my studio. So they will not be deleted. They will remain here, and we'll get a fun template going with them. I hope that this was also helpful for you. I hope that it's inspired you in some ways. And if you want to pick up some really fun libraries for $5, the links are in the description. Once again, there's no affiliate thing here. Those links do not do anything for anyone. So if you want to even just bookmark it and buy it later, it's all up to you. Either way, just want to get the information out there. All right, so with that in mind, keep composing, keep creating, and let your music be your guide. We'll see you in the next one. Later.